On today's Hey Cuz podcast episode, we welcome Kedar Brunson, a man whose journey from hardship to hope is nothing short of extraordinary. He shares his testament of how early life experience exposed him to a cycle of violence, leading him to spending over 2 decades incarcerated before finding faith and transforming his life. His story is a powerful testament to redemption and resilience. Family, please help me welcome Kedar Brunson. Welcome back to the Hey Cuz podcast with me, Olivia J, your favorite cuz cast, where you are either a real cousin or a play cousin. And today we have a cousin on the podcast, and you'll have to wait until the end of the show to find out if he is a real cousin or a play cousin. He goes by the name of Kedar Brunson. Welcome, Kedar. How you doing, cuz?
I'm glad that you had me here.
Today, I want to welcome Kedar Brunson. He is a man whose journey from hardship is something worth noting. Now, he dedicates his time to mentoring troubled youth and advocating for change. I'm so glad to have you here. How have you been?
I'm doing good. Doing very good.
Good. We have a couple of questions that we want to ask you, and I want you to be comfortable. You know, we just want to get to the heart of who you are and what it is that you're doing in this season.
Okay.
And I know that you have something to share. So the first thing that I want to talk about is looking back. What do you think was the turning point that led you to a life of change?
I was at a Salisbury high rise, and there's 5 floors. I had been in about 22 and a half, 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in the cell. I'm on the 3rd floor, and there's 5 floors. And I walked in on the cell, and my whole face was wet. And I'm like, is the building leaking, or is the building something wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up, I didn't see any leaks. And then I put my hand in my face, and I was crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked out the window, and right then I was like, God, if you're real, reveal yourself to me. I don't want to die in prison. I don't alone. And I didn't see a bunch of angels coming down hollering kumbaya. I didn't see all that. But little by little, I started changing, and I knew there was something inside of me more than what I was showing in my past, my aggressive lifestyle. And from that walk, I guess that's about 2009, 2010, because I got out 2012.
Okay. What led you believe? I mean, we've heard your story. We've seen your bio. I've seen your bio. I mean, you've told me countless times that you had a past, and I know the Kedar of today.
Yeah.
What would we have been looking at before you went to prison? Who would we have been seeing? And it's okay if you're not comfortable with talking about who that person was, because it's just like you hear people say, don't call me by my past because I'm in my future. I'm living for my future. But our past is there for a reason. There's a reason why we have a memory.
Yes.
Hopefully, so we won't go back. Like they say, if you don't know history, you're bound to repeat it.
You're going to repeat it. And I mean, I'm transparent. I mean, to know the Kedar back then, you would have met a monster. You met a person that was devoid of any feeling for humanity. You'd have met a person that hated himself. Therefore, he couldn't love anybody else because of my unconventional, traumatic foster care upbringing and things of this nature. I was a nice person. I could do things that have no remorse or feelings, except for I could never hurt a woman. That's something that wasn't my, outside of that. I was the definition of a monster.
You know, right now, in some ways, it still seems that our culture is not able to make the connection between hurting people. There's a woman that I have to say, this is her quote, it's not mine, by the name of Joyce Meyer. And she always says that hurting people hurt people.
Yes.
And we've all been a hurting person at some point, whether it be through relationships or friendships. And, you know, you'll lash out and you'll say something, or, you know, maybe do something that you ordinarily would not have done under the circumstances had you not been hurt or broken by whatever hurt or broke you. But the thing is we don't seem to connect the dots between what people or what children are going through and how that creates a pathway to what you said in your, your testament that caused you to have those feelings and emotion. And, to meet a person who is a monster, which I'm sure right now you wouldn't want to meet your previous self now.
No, no, definitely
Right.
not.
So then then it would be, fair to say that most people don't want to encounter a monster.
No, they do
Not in that regard. Someone who has no remorse, no love. I do believe we're all capable of love. But having said that, the point that I want to make is what do you say to a society that has either hardened its heart towards the story? We've heard the story. Oh, this kid grew up a certain way, and because of that, they turned out. What do you say to a person who has not encountered monsters? Not in their neighborhood, not in
Mm.
their schools, not in their, they don't know what that is all about.
Okay,
They've
well,
heard about them, but
right.
they've never encountered one. What do you say to a person that would cause that person to just believe that there is still yet hope for that person? Don't
Well,
discount this person.
it's hard to convey that to society because society already has a stigma against people of me, whether it's people of color or people that are in foster care or
Mm,
in group, whatever, because they're the mindset that we're not good enough. And if they don't live on that side of the tracks or never experience someone on that side of the tracks and they live in their little marshmallow world, it's hard to make them understand that this is a reality, not because we wanted to be reality, but this was the hand that life dealt us. And yeah, we're gonna harden our hearts. If you're not showing me love, I'm gonna give you what you show me, aggression. If you're gonna show me disdain for me, I'm gonna show disdain for you. Either that, or it's gonna break down, and I'm gonna have just going to a deep depression, anxiety, or
mhm,
into suicide, which I did
mhm,
try suicide. I'm transparent. I can touch on that later.
I can
But
imagine.
it's hard to express to people that haven't experienced it because they always feel like, oh, you'll be okay. They get it okay, say you'll be okay, or go with God and all these phony analogies
Mhm,
that that don't work. They have no place. So this society being very unforgiving.
mhm,
I mean, I could be perfect for 30 years, and if I was to make one mistake, they'll say I
mhm,
told you no good. Been out 30 years, told you he wasn't no good. That's the mindset of society, which is it's wrong, and I call it self delusion. And it's a form of hubris society has that has no place in a real society. I mean, that's a fantasy world to think that people go through traumas and just overcome it and be a goody two shoes. I mean, I'm an anomaly. Most people recycle and go back in. It's like the prison pipeline, like a revolve Motel 6 that leave the light on for us.
mhm,
Um, and all I can tell them is that, you have to give. Now, some people being honest, it's even hard for me to take them, like pedophiles, things of that nature, raping women. I have a hard time with that. I have to forgive them, but I hate the sin, not the person. It took
mhm,
me a long time to accept that. But with my crimes, all aggressive about the dollar, about hurting people for a dollar,
mhm,
um, and it's because I hated myself.
mhm, mhm,
See, if I didn't love myself, I could care about nothing else. You know, I didn't love myself. You're getting beat with cats of nine tails, thrown downstairs, burnt with cigarettes, told that I should have been flushed down the toilet because I was in foster care, meeting my father when I was 16 in 76, him trying to kill me, meeting my mother in 1981, she trying to kill me. Then the attempts on my life, things of this nature. And I'm like, what is this? And it just made me a very angry, hateful, dangerous human being.
mhm. So, I've been around you and your wife, and the two of you're so loving. She seems like such a patient, loving, kind person. And without knowing all that you have been through, I would imagine that she, for example, are the kind of persons that you were surrounded with at some point. What pulled you out of that state? Because you said you're an anomaly,
Mm-hmm.
but yes and no. Maybe there is an opportunity for someone else. Maybe there's an opportunity to multiply what has happened to you in terms of your overcoming. I wrote a song years ago called Overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about just going down an abyss of
Yeah.
depression. And the song is about suicide. And I did not realize at the time that it was given to me that I was writing a song about suicide. I'd heard the chorus. And then when I the chorus. And then when I
Mhm.
started writing the verse, like, a week later, I remember thinking, well, Lord, this song is about suicide. I hadn't thought about suicide. I'm like, what do I know about suicide? And I just, I could hear the Lord's voice saying to me, yeah, you committed suicide last week when you said, why do I even live? I was going through just stress and
Yeah.
the things that we say. He said the
Mhm.
only difference between you and the person that followed through is
Right.
that
They
they
follow.
followed through.
Exactly.
But it started here and then it moved to here. And then it was trying to get here so that I could act on it. And so there is something there's a switch that happened with you.
Yes.
And it's not rare. It's just not nurtured.
Right.
And I want to know, what is that nurtured you? Was it your wife? I mean, how do you remember coming out of the comatose state, so to
Um,
speak, that you
well,
were in, from
walking,
monster to
yeah,
where
um,
you are?
walking the prison yard and dealing with
Yeah,
all the
what was the process?
okay, I was on the yard dealing with the convicts, and every morning I'd be like, Lord, don't let me kill nobody on this day and
Mhm.
have them kill me.
Wait a
I,
minute. Wait a minute. Kedar. I have to be transparent. I'm not making fun of your story, but you know
Mhm.
me. Now that was a LOL moment. We pray prayers like, may the word you've heard people say that you pray the prayer, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart
Yeah,
be acceptable in thy
yeah,
sight. Yours was, Lord, don't let me kill somebody today. It's
yeah,
not funny.
yeah.
It's
But in
not funny. I don't mean that. But what I mean is we take for granted sometimes what seems to be, not saying that prayers are dumb, but sometimes, we pray for dumb stuff,
yeah, and,
and this is major. This was a big deal.
yeah, that was my. I get up in the morning, and I was in 21 of the most dangerous prisons out of 10 years in Central Prison, Pasco, Hornet, Brown Creek, Burnsville,
Mm.
and they were dangerous. I mean, I've seen guys get decapitated. I've seen them get raped. I've seen them get stabbed up in front of me. And to me, even though no time, I was like, oh, well, there's another one. But,
Mm.
sure, Lord, is this my day? I mean, for instance, I walk with my head down in prison. And the guys say, come on, old school, pick your head up. It's going to be all right. I'm not walking with my head down because I was sad.
Mm-hmm.
You, if I'm walking with my head up like it's all good and I'm looking at your neck, there's no threat coming from your neck. By me walking my head down, I'm watching your hands. If your hands move up to your head, you could be spitting the razor blade out of your mouth, pulling the blade out of your. That's what I'm looking for. I said, I'm fine, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
teaching, as we say, trained to go. And that's how I was built because I trust no one.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got later, I started getting older. And I'm like, there's got to be something more out here. There's got to be something more. And that day I walked in that cell, I guess I was just tired. It's like, I guess that was the defining moment of whether I was going to self destruct and be successful in this suicide attempt versus the one I did in the military, or something else had to give. And when I asked God, you were real, little by little, I started being less aggressive. I actually started preaching in prison.
Oh, wow.
Guards knew I wasn't fake because they know I get down for mine. You bother me, we got a problem. We're gonna move some
Mm-hmm.
furniture. Um, I took all the gang members, different gang sets, started teaching them GED, and I raised the GED rate from 40%. This is documented at Pascatank to 90% in 7 months. And
How about that?
I started doing legal work, and uh, by the time I still got in trouble with Pascatank. I got out. Matter of fact, I got out the whole. Matter of fact, but I wasn't perfect,
Mm.
but I was changing. And I'm like, okay, there's a better way. Then I started making not a decision, but a commitment to what I was going to do upon my release. And that's how when I got out, I think I met my wife 5 months later, and that's a story in itself. But
I like how you said you had to make a decision, not a commitment, because the two are, associated. You have to
yes,
first make a decision and
right,
then you make a commitment. Because there are people who are, they have not just even made a decision, but they're making commitments all the time. But
yeah,
they don't know. It's like they're double-minded. They don't know which way they're going. And so you now have on the other side of it, after that 5 months, you met your wife, and
Mhm.
it's been several years now. How many years has it been since you've been with this newfound freedom? And I don't mean the physical freedom of out of prison, but it seems like your out of bondage came
Yeah,
at the same time.
yeah.
You were spiritually free as well as physically free.
Well, the first thing I think God taught me while I was in prison, that cell that day was, and it took time. I had to
Mhm.
learn. I didn't know how to. I never had it. On my mother's deathbed in 1985, she asked me to forgive her. I told her I couldn't. She asked if I love her. I said, no, I never had it. She died 45 minutes later. Um, God had to show me how to love me, because if I can't love me, I surely couldn't love my wife. I surely couldn't love my fellow Christian brothers as I do now. I still falter sometimes with some people. You know how I am. Sometimes I'm human, and I'm like, Lord, okay, this is not who I am. But
Some people are hard to like.
yeah, they're hard to like.
I mean, we love you, but we don't like you.
I have a sister I haven't spoken to in 40 years. I love her, but I don't like her. I don't even want
Mm.
to funeral when I go, because if you're not gonna give me my flowers while I'm alive, I don't want you to give them to me when I'm dead. I'm sorry. And that's not Christian. That's just being, it is what it is.
But I like how you announced that, you're still a work in progress.
Work in progress.
Aren't we all?
It'll be 13 years in December I've been out.
Okay.
I met my wife 5 months. I met her May 17th, 2013. I got out of prison December 23rd, 2012. I met her detailing a car. I had started my own business. I was enrolled in college. Paralegal tech was my major at Cape Fear. And I met her, and when I saw her coming to give me the keys to her car, it was like, I don't know if you ever seen that commercial with the Brute by Fabergé commercial with people running in the weeds and running. In my
Not Brute by Fabergé.
yeah, Brute by, and I knew then it's like the spirit said, "There's your wife." No, just
Oh, I want to think that my husband would tell a very similar story.
and she, I made her car last so I could talk to her, and she said she would get in touch. She had my number, but I knew she wasn't gonna call me. So that was on a Friday, May 17th, 2013. I
Give
knew
a
this.
sister a chance.
I ran around all weekend. Julius Flores, big teddy bear. Monday morning, I brought him to her job, and she wasn't there, so her best friend gave him to her, and we've been together ever since. So
How
we
about
did.
that?
We dated for 5 years. Been married almost 7. And I asked her, I said, why did you make me wait so long to marry me? She said, Kedar, it's deep. She said, I was ready to marry you after 2 years, but I had to make sure you were ready.
I love that. I did want to ask you, what advice would you give, or do you give, to young people who are feeling that they're trapped in a cycle of violence?
Talk to somebody.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
talk to a therapist. Um,
Okay.
sometimes you can't talk to your parents. I get it. Sometimes you don't have parents. I get it. But find somebody you trust and be transparent with them and talk with them, because I didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't have a therapist. I had no one. I trusted no one, and I paid the price for it. But talk to somebody, and always look in that mirror every day and say, I love that person in the mirror. Because if you
Mm,
get adapted to loving yourself, you will never, ever succeed in this life. And I
that's
found,
powerful.
and I'm still working on me. But every morning, it's like me and my wife, me and my wife will tell you we love each other. Sometimes sound like broken records. We say each other so much, but you have to look in that mirror. And if you can look in that mirror and you're satisfied, or excuse me, if you're content,
Hmm.
you see, and you love them, and then you start building on that love, then you start realizing you can do anything you want to do. And another problem people have is this, like with the youth, they're scared of peer pressure. They're scared of
Mm.
like you. I have haters lined up probably across the world. I need more, because as long as you are hating on me, I am doing something right. It's when you stop hating on me and stop talking about me, I'm going to say, oh, let me check myself. Let me reevaluate.
It's a good point.
I need the haters, because either they want what you have or they're envious.
Mhm.
I have a lot of people they're so, I mean, I work hard for everything I have. I'm blessed
Yes.
to have acres of land, I have luxury vehicles, I have a beautiful wife, a dog, a brand new home, but we work for it. And it's not even mine, it's God's, first of all.
Yeah.
So you come take it from me, you
That
take
part.
it. God. All this belongs to God, you know. But I tell these, you have to talk, and you have to listen. My daughter is a psychologist, and sometimes we have conversations, and I say, look, that degree is good. Masters, she got masters, she got everything. I said, but you cannot walk into a school with gang members, people with one parent home, no parent home, foster home, and you cannot get to them as strongly as I can because you don't have lived experience. You have
Mm.
you have assumptions. You have your conclusion.
Ooh,
I have walked this.
lived experience.
I have
Yes.
how do you imagine taking with a belt with a cat of nine tails and beating you, flaying the skin off your back? I have beast tattooed on my back. I earned that. That's what I was in big bold letters, beast. You can't. I tell the police that I talk to, the reason why you're not getting through because they can't identify with you. But if you walk in there with me and they see we're not friends, but we're associates, and they see that we're getting along, and I try to pick out the tough guy in the bunch. And in my conversations, I kind of throw polite jabs at him because if I can win him over, his little friends are going to follow. Then I give you, man, talk to somebody. Talk, here's my number. If I don't answer you, call me 4 o'clock in the morning, text me. I will get back to you. Don't give up. The system is not designed for you to succeed. It's designed for you to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, coming from a place where we come from, failure should not be an option.
Yes.
Failure is
Absolutely.
drugs. Failure is an option when you mistreat women. Failure is an option when you're sticking up people. I was a failure for years. All that money, Olivia had money. Tractor trailers I was hijacking, stick up kid. I had nightclubs in Texas, the whole 9 yards. But I was a failure because take all that money away. What you got? You got a shell of a man.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's something. Shell of a man. You know, you said something else there. You said identify with me. I wrote a song called Identify with Me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an old one. And I want to offer it up as a free download,
Okay.
just based on our interview today, because it brings back memories, everything that you're saying of the mindset that I was in when I wrote that song. And I was not in the place where you were physically, just in a prison mentally. And when you said identify with me,
Mm-hmm.
this is who we have to be in friendships and in relationships with one another. We have to be willing to, you hear the expression, if the shoe were on the other foot, or could you, walk in a man's shoes for a day? It's one thing to say it, but to be able to identify with
And if
crisis,
you can't, it's
it
hard.
is lived experience that makes all the difference. And,
Yeah,
there are people who can talk to you that have never gone through what you went through, but they can empathize with you. They can sympathize with you. They can't
sympathize.
empathize with you, but they can sympathize with you. And that works too, if it's genuine.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time it is lived experience. And,
Yeah.
we
Just
have like experiences. We do
okay.
a lot.
I was in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, being transparent, and I already been in a lot of trouble in the military and be jumping on colonels and everything. So one day I'm riding around in Fort Sill. My first car was a Galaxy 500. I'm riding around, nothing was wrong. But I told you I hated myself.
Mhm.
1977, I'm just riding around Lawton, and all of a sudden I said, son, I don't want to be here no more. I drove back
Mhm.
to church, took a whole bottle of pills, and I never forget Bob Barker, The Price is Right was on. And I started taking all these pills and drinking my canteen. They
Oh my
found me,
goodness.
they found me in a fetal position. My barrack mate took me to Fort Reynolds Army Hospital, pumped my stomach, milk and mag, activated charcoal, activated milk and mag, the whole 9 yards. Called my sister in Georgia. She said, well, he need to go ahead and die. Fine with me. Got out, no psychological care, no nothing. They just let me out of the hospital 2 or 3 weeks later, and I went AWOL. You know, that was my mindset. I was just, and I tell people, I used to didn't be scared to die.
Mhm.
I'm still not scared to die. I'm just scared to go to hell.
Well, Qatar, I want to go to the other side of the coin now and talk about who you are today and all the wonderful things you do, like this wonderful perfume
Oh,
that you
oh,
gave
oh,
to me a while back, that I love it because it's like roll on deodorant. You just roll it on.
yeah, it's there.
This stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, but you are a fashion designer.
Yes.
Let me tell you, y'all, this man knows how to dress. And I think I want to share some pictures right here of some of the fashionable things. Do you have a men's line of clothes or do you just design for yourself? Tell me
Uh,
how you got into fashion designing. And then we're going to put up a couple of your pieces right now so that people can see just the vast. You just recently had a fashion show.
yeah, we've done them at the Independence Mall, New Beginning Christian Church, the New Pike Creek Church,
Okay.
a couple of schools. And when I was going to leave the country and go to Ghana when I got out of prison, I always loved African fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Old vibrant colors. I like the cuts of the clothes. It's not the normal suit, which I have. Lord knows I got plenty of them. But it's an identity statement. And I tell people, some
I mean, even what you have on right now, it's like fab. Okay.
yeah.
I was trying to figure out what kind of shirt I was going to put on to match your glam, you know?
This I got with my aunt Cubella, my wife's aunt Nessie Cubella V, and her grandmother and Cheryl, and we started designing clothes, just drawing stuff, designing clothes, make sure we got African patterns, and we just took off. And then my clothes that I wear is kind of selfish. I don't duplicate them.
Right, right. That's not selfish at all. You're a designer. You guys get to do that.
And what we do, we take some of our proceeds and we take it and feed the homeless,
Okay.
or we give thousands to churches, or we'll donate to whoever. We did one on Bob Womack smoke one year. We did one on cancer.
Okay.
And, and I just,
So,
you know,
so when do you have an up next coming up? Do you have another fashion show that you're going to be doing real soon? Because we want to stay connected with you, Kedar, here at Hey Cuz Podcast. We want to hear from you, especially when it comes to fashion. If you have something fashionable in mind for your girl, let me know, and I'll rock it. You
I got.
know. But so what do you have in the works in terms of your next fundraiser? If you don't have anything right now, that's fine. Tell us where we can find how to connect with you.
It generally takes us a year because we make them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them we make. This year we may do something a little different, but we're planning on February coming, and which
Okay.
I'll book it at more like at our church. And
Okay.
then in June we'll be in Burgall. There's a big vendor fair out there with a lot of times they like me to get my models come out there and just model for them, whatever.
Do you travel nationally,
Well, we
or is
started
it just in North Carolina?
just locally. One time we were invited to North Carolina to do a show, but the numbers weren't right. And if we go out of state, I have to compensate my models.
Well, Kedar, I'm telling you, from fashion to everything else that you do to encourage young people to come out of darkness and into light. I commend you, brother, for just being that person, because a lot of times people get free and then they don't turn around and free others.
Exactly.
So I'm always interested in people who are looking to free others, and that's why you're on the show. So I want to thank you for dropping by the Hey Cuz podcast, and then we're going to go ahead and release this. Let's get the countdown. Is Kedar a cousin or a play cousin? And drum roll, Kedar is a play cousin. So, cuz from today forth, you know I love you like a play cousin.
Oh yeah, all right.
You and your wife are play cousins.
Okay.
But no, Kedar is not my real cousin. But I do have some Brunsons in my family.
Okay, yeah.
Just so you know. Well, thank you so much again for coming on the Hey Cuz podcast. And at some point, I hope we'd love to have you back. But before you go, I want to say, how do we connect with you? Where do we find you? I know that you're on social media, and we're going to put your name up so that people and your social media picture. We don't want to put the social media tags because we don't want to get content. We don't want to get flagged. But you're on Facebook.
My email, my phone number. I mean,
Okay, and how can people email you if they want you to come and speak to their youth?
Kedar Brunson at gmail.com.
Okay, we're going to get that up on the screen. And then they can also find you at Kedar Brunson on Facebook for now. And there's the picture there. And we are going to, we have a page on, we have an upcoming page on our social, which will highlight all of those who've come on the Hey Cuz podcast so that people can constantly connect with the people who are connected with us. And like I said, until next time, bye,
All right.
cuz.
Hey, bye, cuz. This is Kedar Brunson, and you're on the Hey Cuz podcast with Olivia J.
Thank you for joining this episode of the Hey Cuz podcast with me, your host, Olivia J. I hope that you will like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to post your comments. We'd love to hear from you.